Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, I have a thumbs up here. Let me share my screen. Nice. Okay. All right. Then I would say let's start, everyone. Yeah, welcome to the Catena-X Certified PCF Calculations Apps Pitch session. And my name is Sam Forden. I'm the Business Domain Manager for the Sustainability domain here at Catena-X. And today with the Catena-X PCF team and the certified app providers, we're going to show you what you can build on the standards that we developed at Catena. And wait a second. This is going to be our agenda for today. We will have a welcome and intro by Martina. And then the second point will be the certified app provider will be showing their apps. And yeah, I will have a summary and wrap up at the end. Maybe you realize that we don't have a Q&A session because we have a fifth certified app provider. We planned with 4 and we had to scratch a little bit a few parts, but you still can, as always in our sessions, you can leave your questions, and we will after the event we will make everything available in our on our website. You will also receive a mail with all the infos. So yeah, please submit your questions. Just scan the QR code with your phone and you will be guided to the poll. Right, and I have to hand over to Martina for the welcome and intro part to Catena-X PCF.
Yeah, also from my side, on behalf of the Catena-X Sustainability Committee in my role as a PCF topic lead or mentor. Next slide, please. I'm happy to guide you into the PCF use case of Catena-X. There are many more. We focus on the PCF use case today, and it fills the relevant gaps to calculate a real product carbon footprint. So we have the governance and the rule book, and meaning governance, we create our standards in an open stakeholder process with our association members, but then with public consultation. So we have a calculation methodology, we have rules, we have also recognition of sector-specific methodologies, and are on our way on getting also our hands on secondary data that are accepted. Next, maybe you make all of that visible, what is on the slide, so that I can go through that. Yeah, so the core, what we are going to look at today is the PCF calculation apps. But all what you see around that, that we have PCF exchange apps and that we have PCF calculation and reporting execution that is done then by the organization, and that we all not only have a rule book to calculate, but that we also have a framework for increasing the trust in calculated values. And there's the Q&A session is tomorrow. And so we have the full environment there. Secondary data basis and emission factors is still work in progress. That's why you see it scratched. But everything else is in place and can be used today. So we have, in the beginning of the year, you have the same session already for the PCF exchange apps. And there's a video online. So if you have missed that, big recommendation to go there. And now I would like to let you know who are all the sustainability related app providers that have gone through their certification. Next slide, please. PCF or overall Catena-X readiness certification. Just to make it very clear, we check, or conformity assessment bodies, independent conformity assessment bodies, check the compliance with the Catena-X standards, so that these apps are ready to follow the Catena-X standards. And that's true for the PCF calculation apps. It's not that out of such a PCF calculation app, an auto-verified result is created. There's often a misunderstanding out there. It's the best preparation to work with a certified app, but you still have to do internal work to ensure that you have trust, and maybe decide on a third-party certification of your PCF program. And with that, I'm handing over to SAP, to Mareike, who is the first to present, because we are doing that in the order of the alphabet, but starting from the back, because we thought it's good for a change. Mareike, floor is yours.
Thank you. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, you should be able to see it now. I'm Mareike Mokros from the SAP Sustainability Customer Adoption Unit, and today I want to show you our calculation tool, SAP Sustainability Footprint Management, and explain how you can calculate your PCF with it and share it then along the Catena-X network. So therefore, let's first take a look at the overall process. Imagine now we are company A receiving request for a part via Catena-X from our customer in our Exchange component sustainability data exchange. And maybe we then notice that we are also missing a PCF from one of our suppliers. So we're gonna request this PCF also via sustainability data exchange and via the Catena-X network from our supplier. Once our supplier answers this request, it not only appears in our Exchange component sustainability data exchange, but at the same time at our calculation component sustainability footprint management. So there we are then able to calculate the footprint our customer asked us for in our calculator. And once we did this, we can send the calculated PCF to our sustainability data exchange, and from there answering the request of our customer via the Catena-X network. Okay, so for today, as we are focusing on the calculators, I will now deep dive into the sustainability footprint management. What is SAP Sustainability Footprint Management? Besides it's our calculator, it's a cloud-based solution running on the business technology platform. So it's accessible through the browser, and it leverages existing master and transactional data from your ERP systems and enrich it with sustainability data from like your suppliers, as we just saw in the example, or from SCA databases, using also AI functionalities to map emission factors and then calculate not only PCFs, but also corporate carbon footprints. And we are doing this for the cradle to gate process for all the GHG categories. And once we calculated the results, we can then reintegrate them into the key business processes like procurement or supplier management to drive then the sustainable decision making. Okay, but how does it work? As said, we are first of all taking all your source data, mainly from your ERP systems, like your material movements, for example, so that we can calculate on a very granular, even monthly level, your PCF values. We can also leverage other source systems using APIs, for example, or data upload. And once we have all this information in the system, we can also, for scope 1 and 2 emissions, use the so-called energy flow model to also accurately calculate the scope 1 and 2 emissions and allocate them onto the products. We then can use emission factors from SCA databases or sustainability data exchange, like via Catena-X, or even spend-based emissions factors for our spend-based data in order to then calculate the CO2 footprints. And these are calculated not only on one level, but on multiple levels, like, for example, your total CO2 emissions on a material level or on a production level. Once we have the results, we can then either, as said, reintegrate them into your ERP system, so make it available for all the other users outside of sustainability footprint management, or we can analyze it further in BI tools or share it then back to Sustainability Data Exchange and then make it available through the Catena-X networks to our customers. Okay, enough for the theory. Let's take a look at the demo, and this is now a live demo. Hopefully everything works. Okay, so this here is now Sustainability Footprint Management. This is the Fiori Launchpad. You can see here with the different tiles on it, accessible through the browser. And we can here set up the complete system, do the calculation, and even analyze the footprints. Okay, scrolling down here, we already imported master data, as said, via APIs using file upload or using a standard integration for SAP systems. We set all the calculation settings. And now here for the emission factors part, we see we have one pending review from a managed supplier footprint, for example. So this footprint here, the battery cell, in this example, we are producing a battery pack, comes directly through SAP Sustainability Data Exchange. So through our Exchange component into our calculator. And now we can either release or reject it. Okay. Going back, we have even further options to import emission factors. For example, here also LCA data. And as you can see, we already ship some pre-filled content for the Amber database, the DEFRA, or the EPA, but you can also upload, for example, eco-invent data into sustainability footprint management. What you can also do is to manually create here footprints, what I did here. And if you have then footprint without or products without footprints, what you can see here, you can just select them from the list and use the AI mapping to map an emission factor from an uploaded SCA database to your product. I did this already. As you can see here for the adhesive, SFM mapped here the emission factor reference from eco-invent with a similarity score of 8.9 to my product. So I can now go ahead and release this footprint to use it for my calculation. Okay, we have now done the emission factors part. As said, we are based on the ERP data, so your goods movement, what goes into the production, what comes out of the production, and how long your product was produced or how long it did stay in the machine. So we are here importing the business transactions. And with that, we have all the data for the calculation available. And taking here a look at the data for the December. Let's show the results. This is a list-based view. And I will now select my battery pack. What you can see here, first of all, is the calculated total CO2 emissions and also the CO2 emissions per unit. This here is the Sankey diagram, which shows you the CO2 emissions of my product. And if we scroll down further, we can see the breakdown values of all the different GHG categories my footprint consists of. Okay, the Sankey diagram is a great way to analyze your footprint because we can now scroll through the production process actually and see here, besides the products that went into like the production of this battery pack, which is more or less your BOM, we can see also here the resource usage, like your energies, your steam, your heat, your electricity, everything, what was used by your machines producing this product. We can see this here also. So this is one way of analyzing your footprint. Another would be here to use one of these applications, for example, your footprint overview. We can see here also for December, the Scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, and also the trends of the last 6 months. And scrolling down, we can see here the different ratios of the Scope 2 emissions, for example, or the different categories of Scope 3. Once we analyzed everything and we're happy with our result, we can share this as shown in the process overview with our sustainability data exchange component and then onto the Catena-X network. Okay, that was the demo. Back to the slides. Because now, if you like to start with sustainability data exchange, I can invite you to test our free trial or the discovery missions, or visit our onboarding resources or simply contact us to get started. And with that, I'd like to say thank you. And yeah.
Perfectly in the time box. Thank you so much. Nice. So now we should have the Siemens colleagues here in the call taking over presenter mode.
Thank you very much. Share.
Nice. We see everything. Stage is yours.
Thanks. I will show you today with Teamcenter Product Cost Management what possibilities we have to calculate carbon footprint. We are now Catena-X certified some months ago, so yeah, pretty new. But our carbon footprint calculator, what we have in the system, is already 4 years old, and more than 100 customers are already using the carbon footprint calculator. What is special for our application for Teamcenter Product Cost Management, that we combine sustainability and profitability. So we are not focused on costs or on sustainability. We do both integrated in one system. When you're changing assumptions, you see always full transparency about the costs, but also on the carbon footprint. We have a lot of use cases what we support, typically in the automotive industry. We call it holistic cost engineering, from your challenges in purchasing department, so supplier assured calculation, lifetime calculation, when you want to understand what is happening with your products in the future, and of course quotation calculation to your customer. Why you need an integrated costing and carbon footprint solution? Typically, the use cases happen before SOP. For example, ZF, they are using our system to accelerate their part calculations for cost and for carbon footprint, achieve cost savings in an early stage, or like Bangalore, accelerate the whole quotation process for costs and for carbon footprint. And for example, Siemens AG is using Teamcenter Product Cost Management for reducing CO2 of the products in an early stage, typically in a design stage, for example. What we are doing, we are looking in detail into the products based on purchase parts, raw materials, bill of material, bill of process. So we do it pretty accurate, and our strength is that we can do a lot of simulations in the early stage. So for example, you have a part with magnesium, you want to understand what is happening when we are changing the material for aluminium. Immediately within seconds, you understand for our application what are the costs and the carbon footprint, and yeah, just so you can simulate in an early stage already, and you achieve cost transparency and carbon footprint transparency. It's not only the bill of material, we can also simulate with the bill of process. So what is happening, for example, when you change the machines from a big machine to a smaller machine? What is, for example, happening when you change the region, when you maybe do a relocation? Maybe we are producing today in Germany. What would happen with costs and carbon footprint when we move the product to the US? Or, for example, to Sweden. We do the simulation always on the complete product, including bill of material, bill of materials, so all the raw materials what you are using in your product. The production, of course, very detailed, very accurate, based on cycle times, machines, setup times, scrap calculations, and of course we're also including the logistics or your transport cost and carbon footprint. As I said, you can simulate, for example, in this case, you want to understand what is happening when we are producing in the US, but we want to use, for example, recycled aluminium, we're switching to a other machine, and for energy, we want to use now green electricity, for example, immediately within seconds. You see the results. On the one hand, we as Siemens, we provide reference data, so for materials, for cost factors, machine, energy mixes, for costs, and for carbon footprint, but we also connect it, for example, to your ERP system, to your purchasing system, and so on. So we have all the data available in one place to have holistic cost and carbon footprint engineering. What we also integrated in our solution last year is a transport cost and carbon calculator. So when you want to understand in early stage what are my transport costs or carbon footprint, we can do this with this solution. We still do this analysis always on your bill of material. So it doesn't matter if you want to know about cost or carbon footprint, we do it always based on the same BOM and the same bill of process. And with this new possibility, you can easily and fast understand, as I said, cost and carbon footprint for the transport. You can simulate what would happen when we change assemblies to different locations, what would happen when we source, for example, raw materials for other regions, and you always see the effect directly within seconds. And on a map, you can always drill in and understand each leg, each transport in detail. We can automatically simulate, but of course you can also implement your own assumptions. So is it truck, is it a train, and so on. As I said, we are Catena-X certified. We have a lot of APIs, so we can share carbon footprints with other systems. We have also an out-of-the-box cost and carbon footprint breakdown integrated. So when you want to understand, for example, details from your suppliers, you can use this format or use your own format, and easily your whole calculation, your whole product carbon footprint, you can easily, on the one hand, export, on the other hand, also import from other sources. In summary, what we provide with Teamcenter Product Cost Management as Siemens, early sustainability and profitability, transparency early in the life cycle where you can adjust the most. We not only focus on in-house or supply chain, we have both integrated into our system, and at the end, with our solution, you can achieve your climate targets faster. Thank you very much.
Nice. So ahead of time, very, very compact. Thank you, Daniel. We would have iPoint next. Andreas.
Yes.
Do you want to directly take over?
Yes, you should see my screen now.
Yes.
Perfect. Welcome also from my side. Maybe first a few words about iPoint, as we're not that well known as SAP and Siemens. We are also a software provider. We are providing for more than 25 years software for impact intelligence. What do we understand under impact intelligence? It's a combination of the three pillars: compliance, sustainability, and exchange. So we are providing solutions, combined solutions for topics like material compliance, ROS and REACH, but also for sustainability topics to calculate a PCF or an LCA or EPD. So we're very flexible on this side. And of course, the exchange is also very important in the supply chain to get the relevant data to do this calculation and checks, and also to provide results further. And in the center, always the product is our focus point. So everything is about the product, the compliance of the product, and also the PCF calculation, of course. As you can see here, based on some example customers, we are well established in the automotive area. I mentioned some of those customers are working with us together already since 25 years. There are other industries as well, like the electronic industry, chemical industry, manufacturing industry. But we definitely have a big footprint here in the automotive industry with our application. And today I will focus on our sustainability offering here. And when we look at the supply chain, then we see that the customers, the suppliers, have a different level of maturity currently in place. So there are some organizations which are already very familiar with the PCF topic, how to calculate it, what are the challenges there, and they're looking for applications which are helping them to do the next steps, to get a higher level of detail, higher level of automation. And here we are offering the scale and enterprise package for such cases. On the other side, there are suppliers which are very new to the topic, who are struggling to calculate the PCF at all, and need some guidance how to do that, what's important, how to calculate it. And here we're also offering packages, so for the different level of maturity in the supply chain. What we're offering to calculate the PCFs and LCAs is a unique combination here of an established LCA expert tool, which an LCA expert can use to get into the details to answer all possible questions in this field of PCF and LCA, and to do detailed analysis. At the same time, to scale this approach, we have a web application in place, which can be triggered or controlled via APIs, and where the data exchange can be automated, and with that also the knowledge of the LCA experts can be scaled to calculate a high number of products, for example, for your whole product portfolio. How we're doing that, at the beginning, I mentioned the product is in the middle in our calculation. So therefore, you need a good understanding of your product. And here, especially in the automotive industry, with IMDS data, you have a very good starting point to do such a calculation. So we have a direct connection to get this IMDS data, to have this available as a starting point to do further footprints. That's not the only possibility, but in the automotive industry, that's a very good starting point, which gives you, saves you a lot of work when you start with this kind of data. IMDS data, the bill of material which is provided there, is of course not sufficient to make a complete product carbon footprint, also according to the Catena-X rulebook. So you need additional data sources, and here these can be combined and connected and collected from different data sources and added to the bill of material in an automated way. So we call this BOM enrichment, and with that we're getting information like transport, energy consumptions and stuff like that into the bill of material, added to consider this in the PCF calculation then as well. And with that we have the picture of what is required to produce the product, but of course the next step which is important is to make the mapping to the environmental impact. And here we have with smart mapping approach, which is trained by LCA experts, using also here AI technology to do this mapping or to train the system. And it helps the user then to scale the knowledge of these experts to have reliable results, which are independent of who is working with the system at the end, and where you get this mapping in a very quick way. And that's the point which I would like to show you now in our software directly. Here I would like to mention that it's also possible to do this via the API as well. It's a system which can communicate to other systems, but for demonstration purposes, of course, it's nicer here to show it in the software directly. So you see here our web application, product sustainability, and the starting point, as I mentioned, is to load a bill of material, or maybe taking one step back. Here, the bill of material comes in, and you have here also the possibility to add manually materials and components. So you can build this also from scratch. But of course, if you have a connected system, then it's much easier to get the BOM information into the system in an automated way. So I'm searching here for my product, which I would like to consider. And now you can see the system loaded the bill of material. This is, in this case, a source from IMDS. So some of you maybe are familiar with this kind of structure. It's a structured bill of material going down to the material level. And you have here available the weight on the material level, VDA classes. And yeah, as mentioned before, you need additional information here as well. And this can be done with the enrichment. So the system is connected here to other data sources. And based on that, we're adding here, for example, information about manufacturing, or also PCF information if it's already available from the supplier, which can then be considered in the calculation. And the last step here before I can do the calculation is then to apply the smart mapping. And with that step now, LCA datasets or remote models, or something you prepared or you got prepared by the LCA experts, so specific LCA models can be mapped here. And we are providing here different databases. So eConvent is our standard database, but we are also providing, for example, carbon mines. And yeah, these are here mapped automatically. So does not need to be done by someone who is not familiar with this kind of databases. That's prepared by the LCA experts. With that, I'm doing the calculation here by just clicking on done. And I can check now the results. And here you can see the total result. You see here different impact categories. So I can check, for example, also what is the biogenic content of my emissions here. And I can drill here also into some details to see where is the impact coming from. So if I'm not just would like to report to my customer the PCF, but also would like to improve my product, also change the mapping to different locations, so different manufacturing processes, different materials. This can be all here done and then directly compared. So that's just a few clicks which can be done without deep LCA knowledge. But if I would like to communicate to my customer back, I have here now the possibility as well to get a further view on the results. I can load here into a Power BI application the results and get here the details which are required then to share it via Catena-X exchange systems with my supply chain. So I have here all the details available, which I can then provide to my customer. Yeah, with that, I'm at the end of the demonstration. So if you're interested which package of our software could support you in your status where you are currently, I'm welcome to help you with that. And yeah, please contact us, and thank you for the moment.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. We will have a slide with all the contacts available for you at the end of the presentation. So don't worry if you missed here the contact details. We will provide them as well for everyone who presented. Now we have Glassdome. TJ, are you ready?
Yep. Everyone
can
is.
See you.
Yeah, everyone is very good on time, so I'm a bit scared. But hi, everyone. Very nice to meet you. My name is TJ. I'm from Glassdome, and I'm actually based in Munich. Yeah, here to talk about our PCF data platform. I want to start with Glassdome's mission. Glassdome's mission is solving critical challenges of manufacturers with data and software tailored for manufacturers. And As a start, what we did was we start integrating shop floor data that are scattered across different PLCs, MES system, you name it. And we started with a production monitoring solution. But what we realized starting 2022 is that a lot of the manufacturers actually started approaching us to ask about how they calculate product carbon footprint and then how they calculate it accurately. And that's when we started looking into product carbon footprint data platform that we built. And what we realized is that manufacturers started to need to calculate accurate PCF. Because without an accurate PCF, they were exposed to unknown carbon-related risks, unable to obtain carbon-related certifications. They were exposed to possible export restrictions, tariff disadvantages, so on and so forth. But with an accurate PCF, they could have predict and respond to carbon-related risks, get carbon-related certificates such as ISO 14667 certificate or a verification, or you can get Catena-X verified PCF, so on and so forth. So manufacturers started requiring calculating accurate PCF more and more. And especially with battery regulation coming in and then automotive industry moving into decarbonization, it started becoming a wide challenge for manufacturers. And then that's why we started looking into this problem. What we realized also is that it was very difficult to calculate an accurate PCF because of three parts. First part is that all the data are very scattered across siloed systems. So in order for you to calculate PCF, you require your activity data that includes raw material usage, electricity usage by process, production amount, so on and so forth. But it was all scattered across different systems. So there needed a way to integrate all those systems into all those data into one. That was the first challenge. The second challenge was that PCF itself and then LCA, there were many different standards and many different calculation methods, and then you required a specific knowledge to do so. But a lot of the manufacturers were not really equipped with it. So they were really struggling to calculate their PCF in an accurate manner. And then the third part is that your PCF result actually depends on your supplier's results. And the end manufacturer's result actually depends on your result because you're providing a part to that manufacturer. But the data was not really flowing that well. And then what Catena-X started doing was actually opening up that protocol and data exchange protocol so that the data exchange could happen in a very in a better and then in a more efficient way. So when we identified these hardships in calculating accurate PCF, that's when we realized that we could be actually used and we could actually build a solution that could actually help a lot of the manufacturers to tackle their difficult challenges. So our platform has three advantages. First thing is that we have a technology to collect and integrate real data from your sources. Like I said, we started off as a production monitoring software platform company. So we are very good at collecting data from your shop floor, integrating with your different PLCs, deploying specific sensors to collect the data, even integrating with your MES or ERP systems so that you can have all the necessary data in calculating PCF ready on our platform so that you can start monitoring your PCF going forward. And secondly, our solution is ISO 14667 verified, means that the result that we generate with our platform could later be used in ISO 14667 verification. We also have a Catena-X certification. Like Martina said before, does not mean it is automatically Catena-X certified, but the result that we show using our platform is Catena-X compatible. And to accommodate and then to actually make sure that your value is ISO 14667 verified and then also Catena-X certifiable, we have our in-house expertise, in-house LCA and PCF experts who help you, who guide you through the journey of calculating PCF from the data integration to actually getting the calculation done, monitoring done, and then actually get your certification or verification, whatever you need in order for you to share your data to your clients. So that's what I mean by a complete end-to-end solution on the very right side. we help you go through data collection to calculation to sharing your value and getting your value verified by third-party assurance providers, so on and so forth. So Glassdome is a real data-based PCF solution that actually turns carbon compliance into a competitive edge for you. And I talk about this a lot when I meet with clients. The reason static dynamic data matters, meaning integrating with your data source matters, is because later on, very soon, it's going to be required for you to start decreasing your PCF value, analyze your PCF value, and then start figuring out how to decrease it. So in order for you to do that, if you have a static data that's just 1 year data that's in the past, it's going to be very difficult for you to do so. So by integrating and automating data collection, you can start looking into your data on a monthly basis and figure out if you have a seasonality to your PCF calculation or your production, or figure out a way to actually decrease your PCF value, looking into different scenarios, looking into different analysis, sensitivity analysis, so on and so forth. And that is achievable with dynamic data, automated data collection. So in a nutshell, our complete solution is in twofold. The first part is consulting and data. We go into your factory, we go into your site and figure out where would be the optimal points to measure data, gather data. If you already gather data, you can just simply integrate your data source with our APIs, and then we can start collecting the data on a real-time basis. And then our consultants actually help you identify the most optimal way of collecting the data so that you can optimal way to collect the data so that you can get the verification later on. And then we start collecting the data, right? And then with our software, we visualize, we calculate, and then we calculate the PCF, we visualize the process, we sort the flow, unit processes, and product system for you. And we let you look into your PCF in various different ways. And at the very last stage, what we're working on right now is we're actually going to have you be able to send PCF data using our platform through Catena-X. We're working with a EDC as a service provider to integrate that onto our service so that it's a one-stop shop where you start calculating PCF, get that number verified, and then actually send it over to Catena-X protocol to your customers so that they can enjoy receiving your value through the Catena-X protocol. On the very bottom, we show you the data flow. So we start collecting the data using our gateway or API integration. We get the copy of the data source. We have the data pipeline where we aggregate the data on a monthly basis, and we adjust the data so that it fits the LCA specific methodology, such as system boundaries, so on and so forth, cutoff rules or whatnot. And then you get the monthly aggregated and adjusted data set, and we calculate PCF based on that. This is a quick screenshot of what it looks like to see a product view of a product, your product system. So what you see here is on the left, you can search through a date range of the day period that you want to calculate your PCF. And then on the top, you see the Sankey diagram where you can see the sensitivity or hotspot analysis of what actually contributes the most to your PCF. And on the bottom, you can see a pie chart. You can see a pie chart in flows, processes, or stage. And then there are table that actually lines up what each of the flows actually contribute to your PCF. And on the right corner, you can see that we can share this value. And then you can share this value through Catena-X network, like I said before, to your buyers and then to your clients. And another quick view is another quick view of how the data flow works. So we start collecting your data from PLC sensors, MES, ERP, you name it. And then we also collect the manual data points from you. And then we create a data pipeline for you. And you can also receive your supplier's data using Catena-X, or you can get it through your email or upload to our platform, and then actually start calculating PCF and then share that PCF value using Catena-X protocol. Last but not least, I want to talk about, oh, are we up?
Yeah.
last but not least, very last page. So this is our clients. Right now, we're very focused on automotive and battery sector. Automotive for the obvious reason of decarbonization efforts, and the battery for the battery regulation. And yeah, if you're interested to learn more, always welcome to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ.
Great. that was close.
Made it in time. Very nice. So last but not least, we have our Carbmee colleague Florian presenting the Carbmee solution.
You should see my screen now. Then
yes,
can give
we
me
hear you and see you. Thanks.
Perfect, perfect. Then I also tried to be in time. Thanks everybody for being in time till now, and very happy to also present our solution from Carbmee. So I'm Florian. I'm heading up our sustainability expert team at Carbmee. And here I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but just a brief overview of our company. We have a global presence, mainly in manufacturing and automotive, I would say. We're 4 to 5 years old, but already 70 to 80 people now. And we're based in Berlin, but of course we also do have a big office in Munich, as a big share of the automotive industry is based down there in Munich. What is the typical challenge that we basically see with our customers? And this is also the challenge that our founders wanted to solve when they founded Carbmee 5 years ago, was basically solving the complexity in the supply chain. So they didn't really come from a production perspective, but rather from a supply chain transparency perspective. We all know that the Scope 3 emissions are the major share also in a product carbon footprint that you want to share with your customers. So what we see here is a typical example of one of our customers, could be ZF, could be Schaeffler, could be any other automotive company, with over 5 million transactions, a lot of suppliers selling multiple products, especially German OEMs still have a lot of different cars if you compare it to a Tesla of the world. And then, of course, also a lot of purchased materials. And this is exactly where we need the transparency in the end. What they did in the past was actually actual solution, email solution, PDF solution, and now it's about streamlining this, bringing that into one system, and then having the data together. We solved that from a holistic perspective. You see the product carbon footprint here in the middle, but the bottom-up approach for that is, of course, the supply chain emissions. As I said, most of the emissions are in the supply chain, and this is really where you need a bottom-up solution, a transactional solution that integrates multiple different ERPs. The company doesn't have one ERP system. They're not just using S/4HANA, but they might also use Jagger. They might use any other procurement system. And this is where you have to streamline the data, put it together. This is always the bottom-up approach, where we start and then really bringing the data together with the production data that you have to a product carbon footprint, and eventually then also to a corporate carbon footprint, but that shouldn't be the topic of today. What we also think is that there is not a single solution that fits all the use cases of the world, but still you need to be flexible. You don't want to have 100 different solutions, but you want to have a solution that can tackle a lot of sustainability regulations. And this is why we spent, especially the last 2 years, really flexibilizing our data set and our data set at the back end. So you can integrate multiple databases, you can integrate multiple data points, you can ask any question to your suppliers through the system, always with the focus of carbon.
Florian, do you want to restart your video? Because you're frozen for me and other colleagues. Just quickly.
Yeah, perhaps I turned the video off. Unfortunately, I have a bad internet connection.
I just wanted to let you know. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you can still see my screen. I'm on a slide where it shows the supplier carbon footprint right now to the left, and then the product carbon footprint in the middle. Is that correct? You see that?
Yes, we do.
Perfect. And this is actually a point that I want to make. It's about a dynamic connection of the data that we have. So you have a multi-tier supply chain where you want to collect the emissions, and then you have the product carbon footprint. On the right side, you have your customers. This is actually where Catena-X comes in place. You want to share the data. But really the struggle is here on the left side. It's not really in the production system that you have. It's really finding out about the emissions that you have in your supply chain, and especially not only using generic values there, but really jumping into primary data. And this is exactly what we try to solve. For this, we always follow the journey. We start and we pick you up where you are. It might be a manual ingest of data. It might be spend-based data. It might be Excel sheets that you have, or that would be great, you already have everything structured in an ERP system. That is then ingested in Carbmee, either via drag and drop or via an API connection. We have some standard API connections there as well. And then it's about to get the data into the shape of activity-based data, get the data into the shape of supplier-specific data by onboarding the suppliers, and then also have the full PCF with primary data and certain reduction initiatives, because that's the ultimate goal. Of course, that doesn't come overnight. Here's a bit of a product carbon footprint feature and screenshot. I think Sankey diagrams, they seem to be in the trend. Every provider has them. Also, of course, we do have them. We can also see that in a second live in a demo. But here you see some key facts. So it's about PCF, it's about LCA with other impact capabilities to also integrate that, but in a dynamic approach. That is always the key message that we bring here. And then in the end, also using that for data sharing. We also integrated something that is called assisted modeling. So we all use databases like EchoInvent, and of course also Carbmee does, but in the way or in the sense of lifting that up to actual reduction, you need to have additional, let's say, modeling capabilities. And this is something that we just introduced. So for example, for your test products, you can easily then change to solar power, you can easily change the grid mix, you can change the supplier. You can do a lot of different great scenario plannings that help you in the end to test out different options that you have with your products and especially within your supply chain. For this, we also integrated something that is called the Carbmee DB, or you can also understand that as your customer DB. It's basically something where you can integrate any data sets. As I said, we're using EchoInvent and also other databases as well. But this is really where I can say I want to have my own LCA calculation in here. I want to integrate data that I have already collected over the past. I want to integrate IMDS and so on and so forth. So all of our customers, they have their own database, and this is then accessible for everybody who's using the system. And that also makes it more flexible. I was talking about the supply chain emissions already, but it's really a major step in the end for the product carbon footprint, the life cycle stage or the first life cycle stage where you have the pre-processing. This is really where you have most of the emissions, and this is where you need a proper tool on a transactional bottom-up level, and then really integrating that with your suppliers in your supply chain, collecting the primary data, starting reduction initiatives, and so on and so forth. And this is what Carbmee was built for. It's actually the first feature that we built to tackle the scope 3.1 and 3.4 challenge, then push that data into the product carbon footprint in a dynamic way. For this, we have a dedicated team, but also, of course, a dedicated software platform for the suppliers. So they're invited to the system. They can adjust their data. They can upload their product carbon footprints in the system boundaries that you define together with us. Of course, that is dependent on your specific needs. It might be the Catena-X format, but eventually also working with other standards like the PACT standard and so on and so forth. So that is something that is very important here. And then finally, to round it up on the slides, you also need something to visualize it. For this, we also integrated a Power BI where you can basically pull any data that you have collected before, if it's in the supply chain emissions, if it's in the product carbon footprint emissions, and you can bring that in a format that you want. Of course, we support certain standard formats here. For example, we have a Catena-X dashboard that helps you to extract the data to the data sharing systems that are then presented in other solutions. This is really what we do in what we call Studio. I'll showcase that in a second. I think I still have 1.5 minutes. Eventually here you see some examples. Just to show the logos, of course, I think there's also an overlap. Different tools are supporting differently these big corporates, but we do also have a big footprint in the automotive industry, some close partnerships here, and this is really where we can support you the best. And then I would just, to round it up, show it shortly in the product. We don't have the time for a full product demo, but I want to start on the most complex thing, basically really explaining you this connection between different levels. You have the item, that is basically your material number, you have your supplier, you have the site, and you have the product. And this is really what you have to connect. You have to show the hotspots right away, and you have to bring that together so that everything works dynamically together, of course, in different variants. And just to finish, 10 seconds, I see my time is running out, but of course, you can also have that in certain dashboards. As you see, there are multiple use cases here. I'm just showing the one for Catena-X and the beloved Sankey diagram that we all have. So this is, of course, also something you can do here. By the way, this is completely adjustable, so you can pull any data here. And with that, jumping back to the slides, to the last slide, and with that, finishing it up and giving it back to Stan.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, presenting a very, very interesting, because yeah, I don't see the apps so often. Therefore, also very exciting for me to see live demos. But wait a second. Yeah, coming to our last part. This is the summary and wrap up, and I wanted to put you here some links in the chat. Yeah, so we will come on. All right, yeah. So to conclude, if you need further information, I've added here some QR codes that you can scan and to where you will find the rulebook, which is of course the baseline or the basis for all the PCF calculation that we use. It also enables the supply chain wide comparability. That's the upper QR code. Then the middle one is the Cofinity Marketplace. This is where you find the apps, and this is where you also can reach out to the app providers to get a quote for your company. And the last point is the Catena-X Association link. This is where you can, this is of course where we develop. So we have all the experts in the association. We come together and we work out the standards. We develop further the rulebook, and this is where we build and govern the whole ecosystem and the basis for all these beautiful apps. And yeah, behind the link you will get the link to register for the information webinar, and how to become a member if you want to contribute and shape the ecosystem. And as mentioned before, here are all the presenters. Yeah, reach out to them. You can, yeah, as mentioned, we will provide everything, and you don't need to rush. As you are all registered, we have your emails, and we will reach out with the slides, with the recording, and the Q&A. I've seen you have posted many questions, and we will all answer them, and we will all provide all the information to you that you need, and the questions that you asked. Yeah, so this was the second event of our PCF Information Week. We have, yeah, the first session was already last week, Catena-X Q&A session on the rulebook. We have the news post on our website and the recording on YouTube already available. That's what I posted in the chat. That's available from today, and we will need some time to have everything together and upload everything and answer your questions for the second session that we are currently in. And in my chat post, you can register for the session tomorrow. This is where we will discuss all the questions that you might bring on the verification for PCF in Catena. And yeah, feel free to register. It's all public and available. You can also forward it to your to anyone you want. And yes, with this said, we are pretty much on time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Martina. Thanks, everyone presenting. Yeah, it was a pleasure, and I'm very excited to see you tomorrow. And yeah. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.